Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd do a short video on a bit of a research and development on the flight model in Reforged Eden pertaining to SVs. So I kind of set up a bit of a science experiment here where I've got three different SVs. They all are the exact same part count and parts. So nothing fluctuates between these. They all weigh a mass of 15.4 tons. They all have 16 advanced large thrusters, one open air pilot or cockpit, one advanced small generator, and one fuel tank. Basically, just the minimum things to get these things to function. And all three of them are made with the identical parts. There are no blocks or anything else on these chassis. And I wanted to take a look at the performance on how each one of these looked and flew based on this. Now I've got the N key tool option of showing the center of mass on all of these right now, so you can kind of see that on test chassis 1 here. This I think would be the ideal test chassis for vanilla gameplay, having the thrusters the furthest away from center of gravity on here. And if we take a look at our specifications here on how it is handling, specifically, I'm not so worried about its directional thrust like left, right, top, down, but it's basically the roll, the pitch, and the yaw is what I'm looking at. So like test chassis 1, we're hitting 57 roll, 50 pitch, and 48 yaw. Okay, so that feels like this flying. Now I'm not worried about strafing, but if I just hold the arrow, here is our pitch, speed, and reality on what that translates to, or how it feels. Then our yaw here, turning speed basically is like that. And then the roll, here, I'm going to center this real quick again, roll would be like this. So that's how those numbers feel in relation to actual game use. So does this fly all right? Yeah, it flies okay. It's fairly smooth. But then again, I mean, literally there's like no weight on this thing. So essentially once you started adding a ship to it, it would probably be a slouch and not behave very good. So experiment number 2, again, same part count, same weight, same everything about it. Oh, I forgot to mention, one other part that's on each one of these is a basic CPU core, because I needed that to hit the CPU limit that I'm at. So that is the other part, and that would be right here. So this one is the exact same thing, same part, same weight, same everything. How does this one perform in relation to the other one with the statistics? So this one's getting a 65 on roll, 56 on pitch, and 53 on yaw. So it is slightly better than the other one. Slightly. Especially the roll, I think, jumped up quite a few points. Let's just take a look at that. Roll over here again, 57. Oh, maybe it didn't. Well, 65, yeah. So better performing specs on this one by a little bit, not a lot. Would this chassis be effective? I don't know. Again, once you start adding a ship to it, it's probably going to slow down an awful lot. And it doesn't have a lot of wiggle room there. So, and then we got test chassis 3. Now, test chassis 3 is basically, again, all the same parts, same weight, same everything. You can see again, but take a look at the specs on this one. 99 roll, 259 pitch, and 110 yaw. Holy crap! This one is entirely faster than those other ones. Why is that? Because this one actually is the very worst for the thruster locations at the center of mass. It's the tightest. It's like it's smashed together right on the access points, as opposed to trying to be away from the access points. And this one is insanely faster than the other two. Look here, I'll just hold down the arrow keys. Oh, let me get in the air. Here is our pitch. Almost gets you dizzy there, eh? Roll, and the stat I'm concerned about most is yaw. And if I just hold on the arrow key, you can see that this thing just is way faster. But it's all the same parts, all the same blocks, everything. So essentially, all my ideas on how thruster or the thruster model works is wrong. I was thinking that this kind of situation here would be the best, and it is, I believe, for vanilla. This would perform worse, and this would perform the worst of the three. But I'm getting the exact opposite, is what I thought, which could open up some possibilities on some SVs again that actually could fly all right. Because this one has a lot of spare. And why is that? It seems like I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. So I keep on experimenting, but there's another test I thought about that I haven't done yet, and this is a very simple one. And it has to do with the physical size of the creation. Like this one here, you can see that obviously it takes up more room. Despite all the same parts and everything else, it just takes up more space. It's bigger in physical dimensions. This one's smaller in physical dimensions, and this one's smaller yet in physical dimensions. So if that proves to be true, that maybe it's just the more bigger it is, with like, even though it's all the same parts and same weight and everything, that it flies slower, severely impacts the actual flight of the craft. So on an experiment on this, let's take a look at these numbers again. So we're hitting at 99 roll, 259 pitch, and 110 yaw. What happens if we take a very simple thing and we're going to reduce the size of this by 2 blocks by removing this fuel tank here, and we'll put it somewhere just over here. So it's physically 2 blocks smaller than what it was. Let me give it some fuel again. Oops, what just happened there? Hit the wrong button. All right, fuel and statistics. Let's see. 286 pitch, 115 yaw, 99 raw. Oh man, I should have remembered those other numbers. It seems like it's lower than it just was. Let me spawn that again here. I got the original version here for comparison. 99 roll, 259 pitch, 110 yaw. 96 roll, 279 pitch, 112 yaw. So I lost a little bit of roll by a very small amount, but I gained on pitch and yaw. 259, 110, 279, 112 by simply moving that fuel tank from here to there. Again, closest to the center of mass. So with that notion, you would think that, and I'm hoping this is true, because then I'll have a better understanding. So I'm going to remove the pilot seat here. We're going to put it here. So this is further reducing the length of this physical craft by 2 blocks. So now what do we got? Well, we lost a little bit of roll. It seems like the longer it is, the better it's going to roll. But our pitch is 289 and 115. Again, we brought that up from 259 and 110. So by being physically smaller, despite the same number of parts and everything, you lose a little bit of roll this way, but you're gaining the other specs. So like this thing is super fast. So, considering it is the exact same parts as these other test chassis. So my idea of trying to separate and taking the thrusters and putting them away from the center of gravity is wrong. It's just that's not how it's working. Um, it is working this other way. So slam everything at the center of gravity instead, and you get a lot faster thing. Better specs. So basically, I just kind of wanted to relay this information to you guys. Now, of course, I believe this is going to be even worse trying to make something dual compatibility between Reforged Eden and Vanilla, because Vanilla, I believe, likes this flight model and Reforged Eden likes this flight model. Now, this flight model here, I like, it has some advantages, and one is I was never really happy with the idea of having to try to put thrusters out at the far edges of a creation, because that really can lock you into a certain style of building, and gives you very little flexibility if you want it to perform well doing that, where this one doesn't necessarily lock you into that. So it's just an interesting discovery on how much more performance this little stubby compressed thing has with all the same parts versus these other test chassis. And this being the worst of all because of physical separation between, or how big the actual creation is. And if we look at what it thinks it is these dimensions here. So 10.5, well, those. Now, one other thing that's a little weird to me too is the crazy amounts of size class I'm getting from these creations, considering that this comes out to an even size class 1. Running 16 thrusters, 1 fuel tank, 1 advanced generator, 1 pilot seat, and 1 basic CPU core. It hits size class 1 already. I get, that's a lot already, considering there's nothing here. This one here, I think, also achieves the same size class at 1 even. What does this one achieve? I guess it also is 1 even. So it doesn't seem to matter on the actual physical size of the creation that way. They're all coming out to size class 1 just with these parts, which is it's a lot of size class for hardly anything. Kind of weird, but I don't care. And, no, it's not really affecting anything unless you're like in the high size class range where you couldn't get into a server because your size class is too high and things like that. So it's kind of trivial, but the main point I just wanted to put out there is how these things are actually flying in kind of like a test environment, coming up with these modified chassis, just to relay that information to you guys, because I can tell you whatever SV I'm going to build is going to use this logic as opposed to that logic, because this is way better in performance. Now, I'm not talking about like physical speeds, like your directional speeds. All of these are going to be the same. They can all hit 70 in all directions currently. I don't think that's going to change on your strafing speed. It just has to do with pitch, roll, and yaw. Now, one last thing before I end the video, and it's just kind of a short video. I've been really busy lately with some other things around the house, and I got my first COVID shot yesterday, by the way. So another one of those in 21 days or right around there. Then wait a couple weeks and might be fairly immune to this whole thing, and that's kind of cool. Kind of looking forward to being able to do something again. But all right, so RCS and locations of RCS and how do they affect a craft? In comments, I've seen some comments saying it matters, and you want to have the RCS around the center of mass or as close to it as you can get. for the best effect from the RCS. And other comments are saying, no, it doesn't really matter where you put your RCS. So which one is right, or are they both partially right? Let's find out. So right now, the RCS, well, there's no RCS on here, obviously. So we're looking at these numbers here. We got 98 roll, 296 pitch, and 119 yaw. And if I add a RCS, let's say about there, or well, maybe even the block above it, I guess somewhere in this general location here. This would be about the closest to the center of mass I could get the RCS. So we're 110 roll, 348 pitch, 146 yaw. Let's put it back a couple blocks over here. Now we're at 111 roll, 348, and 146. Man, what did I do? What was it just at? Man, I can't remember anything. I should write this down. 111, 348, 146. 111, 348, 146. 111, 348, 146. So in this case, it didn't matter that the RCS is here versus there. Put it over here. 111. See, but now we got to change. Now it's 331 instead of 346. And we got 343 on y'all. So it does make a difference on where you put the RCS to some extent. I haven't quite figured out the math behind this yet because it doesn't sometimes make much sense. And the difference is, well, I mean, obviously 30-point difference from putting it at the center of mass versus over here, at least on one of the directions. Again, let's just take a look here. 111, 331. Let's take a look at pitch right now. 331, that's our number. So I'm going to remove that from here, and I'm going to put it here. And the pitch is now 348. So 341 to 348. So it does seem that it seems to be performing the best around the center of mass, up to maybe a certain number of blocks away from the center of mass. So, like, there's probably, like, these 4 blocks in this radius are all probably about the same as being in the center. Like, if there's one here, does that affect it at all? 348, 146, 111. Go down here. 348, 146, 111 didn't make a difference. Here, same. And I expect the block above that to be the same as well. 346, 348, 111, yes. Okay, so, but then if you go further, like this is now a little bit further away. 111, 347. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Center mass. Oh, 348. Okay, so it did drop. It did drop. So yeah, we're at what the heck? Okay. Okay, we're there. Let's just look at pitch and yaw. 348, 146. I'm gonna put it back to here. 348, 146. Let's remove it. Put it here. 347. 146. Did drop. 348, 146. 348, 146. 348, 146. Okay, well, okay, so that's saying that I seem to be getting the best around the center of mass. So if I were to dump an RCS, say, over here, which is further away from the center of mass, 331, 143. So it did drop. So yes, I would say that that is true. That putting the RCS closest to the center of the mass has the greatest impact of the RCS. That's why I like to do these experiments too. I mean, with any of us, people have different, unless someone really went through and tested everything like to a T, like I'm trying to, set up like a a scientific experiment here. That's why they all had to have the exact same parts and weights and blocks and thrusters used and everything else, just so I could see the changes in numbers. And it's like it's again it's backwards to what I thought the flight model would be, and compressing everything thruster wise to the center of mass as close as you can get them makes for the craft to steer and handle much better than putting thrusters away from the center of mass. But on RC, and the same applies to RCS. RCS closest to the center of mass makes the RCS do more than away from the center of mass. And that's kind of the conclusion I came up to. And it's not just RCS that behaves that way, it's also the thrusters in Reforged Eden. And that's why I was having so many problems trying to build anything that handled worth a crap, because I had this idea, general idea in my head as into how things will turn better. And I believe this is very true in vanilla. Yeah, very much different in Reforged Eden. So I just wanted to get a little video out kind of showing you the results I found and examples on kind of a little test platform. So there's nothing left to chance. And that's how it's working. Those are the results I'm seeing. And the end of the day conclusion is compress all your thrusters in a small little spot along the center of mass for the best pitch, yaw, and roll. It's not going to make a difference on your speeds. So you're going to still, whatever speed you're doing in the directions, like forward, backwards, up, down, is going to be the same. But the pitch, yaw, and roll are going to be very much different depending on where those thrusters are placed. And the further away from center of mass they are, the worse your ship's going to perform in Reforged Eden. So I think that's just that's something kind of good to know. And anyway, one last thing before I go on the video, I'm messing with this tank. Now I recently discovered this over here. I'm going to try to make this tank handle better with the same parts and stuff that was already here. So, and I'm also playing with hover engines below it too. I just want it to feel better driving it. It's not terribly bad on how it is, but it's I believe I could probably get some more performance out of it without like any bad effects. Like not costing more, not doing anything else. Like right now, my turning speed on this tank, and you can kind of see what that is just holding down the arrow key. And in the statistics here, it's got a yaw of 22. This is the one I care about the most, the yaw. I want the turning speed to be the best I can get it to be. And I realize that, like, if you take a look at these large plasma HV thrusters here, I got these three over here. Now, how much difference would you expect this tank to turn if I removed, like, say, all three of these on each side? Like, all those are gone and all these are gone. We were just at 22 on turning speed, so I mean, this threw me for a loop too, because I expected, wow, this thing's going to turn way worse than it just did. But in fact, it only lost 4 degrees in turning speed, removing like 3/5 of the side thrust, which wasn't that significant. But if those thrusters were, well, we just removed 3 per side, and if I put them like over here, just kind of piled up back over here. I'm trying to get them the same on both sides at least. I think I'm off. I'm off. Well, yeah, I gotta be scientifically right here. I can't have them off a block row. It'll distort the results. Okay, so now I think we're perfectly balanced. Same thrusters, just in a different spot. What do we get for turning now? Look at that. I shot up 3. I shot up 3 degrees by putting those over there. Now, in this case, to me, it seems like these are further away from the center of gravity, or center of mass, I should say, than where these other ones were. I mean, if you count like blocks, but these were offset, like where they're like down over here more. So, although I can't physically, without destroying the tank, place these thrusters at the center line. I'm just very curious too. Well, okay, last experiment for the video. We're gonna try it anyway. We're just gonna bolt them on over here. Let me turn on symmetry plane here, so I maybe make it a little faster. Okay, symmetry plane. Idea. I'm gonna go right along this red line here, and we're gonna just dump in some thrusters like there. Same thruster count, same part cost, should be same weight, everything else, but the thrusters are now there. What does that do for the yaw? See, now I actually lost yaw by doing that. So I went from 22 to 18 by putting them on the center of mass. So maybe the SVs don't fly the same as the HVs, and maybe the HVs, the thruster separation makes them turn better, and SVs are the opposite of that. I tell you what, it's really confusing though. It is really confusing what's going on. It's hard to wrap your brain around how these things are working. But actually, you know, these did get offset further away from the center because of where I put them. So this probably is not a very valid test. I would be more curious to see what would happen. Here, I'm gonna do this last thing again. Sorry, I'm so curious. I'm just so curious on the results of this. I just gotta keep messing with it until I figure it out. So I remove some turrets here so I can make room for stuff. Here, let's take out that one too. Let's just take a look at our numbers. Okay, without the thrusters, we're getting 19 on yaw. So now I'm gonna, we gotta get 3 thrusters per side. I'm gonna try to get them closer to the center of mass this time. Okay, so now we got the same thruster count closer to the center of mass. What does that do for us? So now we're at 20. On the SB, that'll make it like better, I think. So 20. So our default was we're at 19. So putting those 3 thrusters there gave me like 1 yaw. So let's put them way up front. Now we're at 30. So, the best conclusion I can come up with at this moment is that the SV flight model is different than that of the HV flight model in Reforged Eden, where the SVs seem to want all their thrusters compact into closest to the center of mass, and the HVs are performing a lot more like vanilla, where they want them away from the center of mass. So maybe my design wasn't so bad on this. But yeah, just by putting those there, I mean, the turning speed on this tank is better because of what just took place there. Um, I didn't quite expect those results. And you know what? Before I go, one last experiment. We're not gonna do much different this time, but I'm gonna take these 3 thrusters each, and I'm gonna put them. I'll put in a temporary couple blocks here so I can space them out, and I'm gonna put those further from the center of the mass on the center side of it. Is that right? Oh no, I didn't do that quite right. They would have been here. And we'll get rid of these blocks. So basically, I think we just took these out. I think we moved them 1, 2, 3 blocks further out from the center. How does that affect? It didn't affect it. Okay. And let's take out these back ones, and let's put them back over here. Like that. Now what's our... yeah, we gained a little bit more again. So basically the discovery with SVs is not true for HVs. That is like SVs are, I guess, on their own thing, and maybe CVs respond that way too. I'm not sure. But now we're up to 32 on y'all by just moving those thrusters and further away. And now it's, you know, it keeps on feeling better and better and better by doing these things. Now I'm going to have to do a whole run of experiments on hover engines too, because I've been messing with things and hover placements and whatnot, and I'm trying to, you know, again, I want the tanks to feel as best as they can. Or, well, anything, you know, to use what's there and try to make it maneuver in the optimal setup, or, you know, close to optimal. At least to know what optimal actually is a better understanding, which would influence, you know, Reforged Eden designs. So, yeah, so by taking all those thrusters out and putting them out further on these directions here, I am getting better turning. Default tank, you know, with its turrets. Now this is unfortunately I removed so many turrets that I affected the weight of the overall tank. But let me put those turrets back real quick here. Let's see, we're gonna need artillery. Where are you? Artillery. Rockets. I think that's all I removed. So, rocket, and artillery. So now we're back to the original exact block specifications as the default tank, which I'm going to respawn. Make sure that it's unmanipulated, I guess. And look at all these different versions I've been experimenting with. I got a B version, a C version, an FC version. Really trying to like use science to increase the performance of the vehicle. Well, Empyrion science, not logical, realistic science, but just Empyrion science to increase the specifications of, or make it perform better. So we're at 23 on yaw default tank. This one obviously jumped up to 32 on yaw, which is quite a significant turning speed increase by moving those thrusters. And I believe the weight should be exactly identical, 287 tons, 280, what? 279 tons. I don't get it. Why is this one, Oh, I know why. I know why. The default version does not have the quantum cores installed, in which it takes 13 right now. So I gotta turn off the shield. One, two, three. Oops. Three there. One, two, three. And then those locations. So now it should be. Now it's 286 tons. Eh. I don't know. I don't know on that one. I don't think that's. It's not really what I'm trying to chase anyway. It's not really the experiment, but somehow this one's a little lighter than the other one. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why. It shouldn't be. 287 tons. This has 13 quantums as well. Oh, this one has 14 quantums on it. Oh, okay. Somehow I put an extra quantum on that one. So now, 286. Well, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, that's the results I'm getting. Different SV flight model versus HV flight model in Reforged Eden. SV flight models respond better being at the center of, or thrusters respond better being at the center of gravity. HVs respond better away from the center of gravity. Go figure. Didn't expect those results. But anyway, that's what I came up with. And at some point I will get this tank out, but it's still in R&D phase right now. It's taking way longer. I haven't had much time to work on it or mess with it. I wanted to get a better configuration for hover motors on it. I would like to see if there's anything I can do subtly to make it turn better via thruster placement. And if I can pull those things off and gain some more points to its turning, I'll be happier with it. If it can coast over the ground better with better placement of thrusters, or I'm sorry, hover engines, then I'll be happy with that. And it'll just generally perform better than what it is right now. So that is what I've been trying to accomplish, and not to mention I want to start building an SV, for the challenge this month, and I had to know how to make them fly, because everything I try just keeps failing, because I was going on the vanilla thruster model approach that just doesn't work here. But that vanilla thruster model approach does work with HVs, just not SVs. SVs are like backwards somehow. I don't know if that's a bug or an error, or if there's something that I'm not seeing yet, or not just quite thinking about yet. So I mean, if you got any ideas or comments on the results that I'm finding here, let me know. I mean, the more information, the better, and people can see it and spread it around, so we all kind of know what the heck's going on. And that's really, I'm just trying to physically do tests to see what's actually happening in the game. The best I know how to do right now. And maybe I'll come up with some more tests to further enhance that thing. And I'll probably have to do the same kind of testing with hover engines. I want to know how they're going to respond, how many you should have, the locations of where they should be. And now before, basically, if it could move with its maximum cargo weight, and it would stay relatively level, if I wanted it to be level, then I was done. I would put on enough hover engines to keep that level and be able to move around fine with its maximum load capacity. But maybe that's not the right way to go about it. Maybe there's some other aspects here. And I didn't want to use any more hover engines than I had to because, well, they weigh a bunch and they use CPU. So, you don't want to overdo it. But is there an advantage to overdoing that? And that is a question I've got, and something I'd like to find out if it's true or false. I don't know yet. So probably on the next video I might try to dive into that some. I did hold off on modules and stuff. I kind of wanted to wait until all the rest of Excalibur's module stream is done, and then I'll try to take a look at them in a video again as well. So, all right, y'all have yourself a good day. I'll talk to you later.